Hello and welcome to the Raw Fork podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Marina Buksov, and I'm a functional medicine pharmacist in New York, as well as an integrative health coach and clinical herbalist. I'm pleased to go into season 3 of this podcast and continue to bring on other holistic minded pharmacists as well as healthcare professionals to the show. I'm constantly inspired by my guests and their stories and love sharing their points of view with you all. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Raw Fork podcast. I'm super excited to welcome today Dr. Esther Onyoni. She is a pharmacist and a health coach, and she's aspiring to be a functional medicine pharmacist. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Marina. Thank you for welcoming me to your show.
Yeah, I'm super excited to just dig in and ask you about your background, how you grew up, why did you choose the field of pharmacy, and your career path.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I'm Dr. Esther Onyoni. I am a pharmacist. I'm a mom of 3, a wife. I'm a health coach, and I'm an aspiring functional medicine pharmacist. And I'm also a Sudoku enthusiast. I like puzzles and a travel enthusiast. I love to travel as well. I am owner of the I'm the owner of the Wellness Pathfinders, and we're located here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And it's our coaching. We do coaching, and we do coach patients or people who are living with diabetes and who would like to take a different route from the contemporary, regular medications, who would like to feel better and feel energetic, get rid of their blood sugar roller coaster, who would like to feel or reduce their pill burden and reduce their progression to their diabetes complications and just increase their quality of life. So we coach them to get to these goals.
Yeah, that's awesome. How did you step into that role? Like, can you tell us a little bit about how you grew up and how you got your pharmacy license degree, what state you're in, how you practice?
Yeah, so I was born in Kenya. That's where I grew up. I came to the United States after high school. So just growing up in Kenya, it's a place, where I grew up, it was a small community. I wasn't exposed to a lot of things that will aspire me to say, oh, when I grow up, this is what I want to do. We were doing a lot of farming, a lot of small scale farming and selling whatever we produce or consuming it. So didn't have a lot of role models to encourage me to go a particular way. So I didn't know any different. I grew up going to boarding school most of my life. And so really not much exposure, except again, the way I got into pharmacy is whenever in Kenya, it's a malaria endemic country. So we suffered from a lot of malaria. Mm-hmm. So whenever you get sick, so I suffered through that a lot of times, my grandparents or some older person in the community will just go to the bush or to the farm and pluck some herbs and crush them, boil them, mm-hmm. and have you drink it, and then I kept wondering, how does this work? That's bad in my mind. How does this happen that it heals you? But whenever you're not able to heal, that's when you are taken to the hospital. So at the hospital, these were government hospitals that the government supplied medicine. So you could go there and get treatment at no charge or at a low cost. But every time we went there was no medicine. And so it required you to queue to wait for the doctor to diagnose you. And then you mostly and always, they'll send you to the hospital to purchase your medicine. And then it was always something that's injectable. So they would actually send you back to the hospital to get injected. And, this is where I saw a lot of suffering, because now I'm out of my small community onto the hospital. And I just saw a lot of suffering, people struggling because they're sick, they have malaria or whatever other acute conditions going on. And the way they were treated, that being a government hospital, made me feel like, oh my gosh, I wish there was a way I could help them, you know. But then whenever we went to the pharmacy, this is where I was sparked, my curiosity was sparked some more, because here, this professional was such an expert. They would listen to somebody's description of their diagnosis, and they would walk to the back and bring the medication they need. They always knew what to bring, what to do. And I thought that's exactly what I would love to do. I would be able to talk to people and help them. They don't have to suffer through going to the hospital, you know. So, but this is something I didn't tell anybody, because I wasn't dreaming growing up. I'm still somebody from a small community, and I didn't tell anybody. I just went about life. And then after high school, I still didn't have aspire to what I was going to do, because if I wanted to go to college, you had to have money to go to college, and this was not, a place I came from, where we had money. If you wanted to be a pharmacist, a doctor, engineer, lawyer, you had to come from money, or you had to get a scholarship. Well, I didn't get either of these. So I was thinking after high school, I'm going to be a chicken farmer. My mom was farming chicken. She was a teacher as well. But nobody talked about, oh, what are you going to do after when you grow up? I didn't dream. So I was thinking, I'm just going to join the family business. We'll do wholesale farming and just sell eggs to the local restaurants and farm, not farms, but businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And so that wasn't something I was thinking of. I wasn't thinking I'll do anything big when I grew up. But my life really changed when after high school, we got a green card and came to the United States. So my family migrated here to the United States, and we found ourselves, going around, being shown around like, this is your grocery store, because there are no markets here. This is your schools. This is where you sign up for Medicaid because you need insurance. And my dad showed me the local community. This is your school. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, yes, I'm going to college. So this is like opportunity I didn't see coming. And then, so now I allowed myself to dream again. I brought that dream back up. And yes, I did go to college. I had my undergrad in chemistry. I remember going to college for the first time. I never even attended the orientation, so I didn't know anything about being in college in the United States. I just showed up because some counselor signed me up for classes, and they told me these are your classes, because I've chosen to be a chemistry major, and this is where they're going to be. And I just showed up and kept going with it. I didn't even know how to operate a computer. I just kept going with it. I did graduate with a chemistry degree and applied to pharmacy school. And I went to pharmacy school at UNC Chapel Hill here in North Carolina, and graduated in 2006.
Wow. What an inspirational story. Thank you for sharing that. So you guys won the green card lottery?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that's kind of difficult too, because you have to start from scratch, and you don't really know anybody here. You don't have family here. You're just on your own and figuring everything out, like what to do.
Completely, yes. Every time I go through something difficult, I remind myself, we moved here, we made it. Like I could figure something out. Definitely, it was a complete start from scratch. When I look back, there's a lot of things we go, oh my gosh, we didn't know for instance, the neighborhood where we first lived, when I tell people this is where I lived, we first were in New Jersey.
Oh.
And this is where we lived. And people are like, oh my gosh, you really lived there? Like, I wouldn't live there. And I'm like, I was so happy to be there. I don't care what it was. I was here. Yes.
Yeah. Do you have many siblings?
Yes. I'm the oldest of four. And we all had to figure it all out. And somehow we did.
Wow. Yeah, it's like, learning a new like culture, a new place of living, the new way of doing things, um,
Uh-huh.
language.
Yeah, we kept looking for the food that we were used to eating, and we had to learn to eat differently because we couldn't find it most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I moved to New York from my country, which is Ukraine, when I was 9. So
Mm.
there was a big period of adjustment too with like the language and yeah, just learning how to do everything differently. And my parents had to look for different jobs, and it was I can like relate, but especially, when somebody has friends and family, which we did have some contacts, which was a blessing, but I know that if you don't have any contacts, it could be quite lonely.
Yeah, well, we had some aunties here who helped us maneuver our way around. And I remember they brought us clothes and just it was a complete starting over. We had everything was used in the house, all the furniture. But we were so happy. We didn't even care what condition it was. The fact is that we were here, and here I was dreaming again.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
totally. Like we, sometimes like got used furniture, in the beginning that people would just like throw out. And yeah, also like I can totally relate to starting over and building from scratch. And now the world is like very different than it used to be. Like now people are much more like maneuverable, and like we can contact people globally. But
Yeah,
before it was like you're completely cut off from your place of where you came from, and it was like very scary.
completely. I agree. Yes. Yes.
So, after you graduated school, what were your next steps?
So remember, I saw this pharmacist in Kenya who was such an expert and had me dreaming. So I graduated from pharmacy school and went to work in the community setting because that's the setting I had in mind. I liked to have that one-on-one with the patients and just discuss what they need and cancel or refer them. So I was available there. And, in my mind, they don't get to do a lot of suffering because I would be conveniently able to help them with whatever they need. So I went to work in a community setting, and that's where I've worked. I've been a pharmacist for 14 years. Um, in that time, I saw however, I noticed how different it is to practice in the United States versus in Kenya. What I had seen over there, somebody walks into the pharmacy, they describe what they need, and the pharmacist will give them, so they don't need a prescription to get an antibiotic, which here you would. And then also the convenience, here you will get medication if you go to the pharmacy, despite or no matter how expensive it is, it's available. And over there, it was more of if something was prescribed to you and it's not available, we can't get it. We can't guarantee it. We just don't have it, especially if it's expensive. The pharmacists don't stock it. And so you just have to find alternatives. So, and then there was a lot of medication shortages over there versus here where it was, just convenience here is a great thing. And then also just the different lifestyles we live, because people in Kenya walk a lot more because they don't have cars. So it's like a lifestyle of walking all the time and eating from the farm because um, they probably just don't have money to buy all the processed food or animal products that's quite expensive. So there was not as many chronic conditions as compared to what I observed when I started practicing pharmacy here. Because here we are trained in pharmacy school to treat people who have chronic conditions. I know we did not question it when we were being trained, but they'll say if somebody has high blood pressure, you follow the GNC7 guidelines. If somebody has diabetes, you follow the ADA guidelines. And that's what we had. We did not question. So what if, because of course those guidelines say, well, you start with this medication and you proceed to add on this and that. Of course, it mentions lifestyle changes, but when people go to the doctor, they already see that you definitely do give them medication. So there's not that chance to tell them to go back to lifestyle changes. So they already start with medication and they continue adding on according to the guidelines. And so I noticed that my patients in the pharmacy were just were chronically ill, and they were getting medication. It was more like treating, constantly adding on medication, so like somebody came in with diabetes, next thing you know, they have something for 2, 3 medications for diabetes and medication for the complications, which they already have. Which is probably how they presented to the doctor in the first place. So they already have a lot of medication. So it felt as if you're treating a chronic condition with acute treatment of a chronic condition is probably how I would describe it, because here you are constantly giving them medication for the symptom they're having and never having a chance to address the underlying reason why they're having, or just like, let's hit the reset button and see what is going on. So that's what I recognized a lot practicing, and I kept wondering how I can step in further for these clients or customers or patients. They were just constantly saying, or they would have 6, 8 medications, but they will constantly say, I don't like taking medicine. And, you would wonder why, but they need it, and they're taking it, they're here every month, but how else can you help them? Because they need it. I know that I believe them, they don't want to take it, and maybe nobody has told them what else they can do beyond the fact that they were diagnosed with whatever condition it is. And so having practiced pharmacy for 14 years and just looking at how else I could come in for these patients, that's how I started doing my research, and noticed or found out, learned about health coaching and functional medicine.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that as well. So can I ask you, in Kenya, is it some medications do need a prescription, but it's a lot less percentage, or is it everything is available without a prescription?
It's available without prescription, except the purpose of the pharmacist there is to give people the medication they need. In other words, somebody would basically go to the hospital to get the diagnosis, and then they'll go to the pharmacy to get whatever medication that is. So if they knew that this is the medication they need, they don't even have to go to the hospital. They can actually get it.
Okay, I see.
So it's still behind the pharmacy counter, but it's available to them.
Yeah, in Eastern Europe and Western Europe as well, we have like a similar system too, where a lot more percentage is available over the counter, but there are certain restrictions that are not available without a prescription. But it's much less regulated than it is.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
I remember going to visit one time, and my son was coughing a lot, and I walked into the pharmacy and was looking for some cough suppressant, and they were just offering me, okay, here's a cough suppressant, you might need amoxicillin too. And I'm thinking, not really, I just need something for the cough for now at least. And so it's that accessible. The only other thing with that is you're prone to run into somebody who's not necessarily a pharmacist, giving you something to take, which they're really good at. If you trained and you're a pharmacist, you get more customers or more clients because, you know, word of mouth goes out that that's a professional versus somebody who is just selling medicine and they're not a pharmacist.
Mm. So
Yeah.
you're allowed to sell medicine without training too?
Well, if you own a pharmacy and you're not a pharmacist and then
Oh,
you just sell it, you know, it's different. So people would come to you more if they know that you are a pharmacist, you're trained as a
yeah.
pharmacist. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like the way we get trained in like my home country as a pharmacist is different, way different than how we are trained here. It's like not a master's equivalent degree, it's like lower, but
Mm.
they are trained on more versatile topics like how to use herbs and supplements, and even injections are sold in the pharmacy. So
Mm-hmm.
like everything is much more available, and I feel like they have a much like wider spectrum of the knowledge, whereas we have like very detailed knowledge about a lot of the prescription items, not as
Mm-hmm.
detailed about over the counters, barely anything about herbs and supplements.
Of course, I noticed that. I don't know if they're trained about herbs back in Kenya, but I did notice that with our training here. I remember when we came to the natural medicines uh, topic, it was more of, well, we don't know the efficacy, we don't know if it works, we don't, the mechanism of action is, you know, unknown. So, and there are no randomized controlled trials. So it was mostly, I felt like it was mostly something that was brushed off. I wouldn't, so whenever I recommended something that was a natural product to the customers, I always did mention that, you know, there was no guarantee there because there are no studies. And,
Yeah.
you know, I think that was part of our training that maybe needed a little bit more of rejuvenation.
Yeah, and I think it's always like, because we don't know enough, it's better to just not recommend it because it can interfere with real quote unquote medications, or
Mm-hmm.
impede or delay the process where somebody would need to ask for help and things like that. And
Yeah.
then another thing is like a lot of these third party companies, they're not regulated very well by the FDA. So unless there's like a reported problem, you won't know that as a consumer. So there's a couple websites out there that like consumerlabs.com where you can go
Yeah.
and check like how good do these companies test and measure up of what they're marketing versus what's actually in the pills and the capsules. So it's like a consumers or buyers beware kind of thing in some cases.
Yes. And of course, another thing is practicing in the community. I don't think we make time to even go there. You know, there's hardly any time to do that. So the customers are left to, you know, fend for themselves in this one.
Yeah, a lot of them just do their own research and then just come and buy what they feel like might work for them. But a lot of them don't even think to ask the pharmacist because they know the pharmacists aren't really trained on it. So
Mm-hmm.
some of them go to specialized pharmacies just for that reason, or like to a health food shop like GNC or like medicine shop. I don't know if you have them there.
Yeah, we do have those here. I just and I think most of the people there are not trained either. So some of the people will just get things, you know, that they don't know what's in them. I think uh, having done some training with functional medicine, I feel like there is a lot out there when it comes to these natural medicines or vitamins or herbs that you don't, it's also not something you just pick up and take. It's a lot to it. For instance, I saw a recipe for, you know, how to get past a sweet tooth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it included mixing a drink that you mix um, some glutamate, you know, which is an amino acid. But you can't tell somebody who is stressed out or anxious, very anxious, or maybe even being treated for anxiety, to just take this amino acid. It's an excitatory amino acid, and they will be super excited. They first of all come back to you and say, I can't sleep. And I don't know that you've helped them because now they can't sleep and they're feeling awful. Their condition's gotten worse. And so if these other vitamin shops are recommending these other products, they don't know what else it can cause to somebody. So still people go out there and buy things, but they don't know what's in them. So it's one place that makes me think, oh, a pharmacist is still needed in this area.
Yeah, I think so too. Like you can search something on Google or Wikipedia or like somebody's blog, but you don't really know if they have the credentials to offer a guidance or advice.
Yeah, yeah, and as pharmacists, we really need to also educate ourselves in that because, especially with our training, which didn't have a lot of natural medicines, it's something that we can do more because, I mean, especially when it comes to like doing CEs, because you actually do learn more and go, oh my goodness, this is something new here.
Yeah. So, can you tell us a little bit more about how you are practicing and, how did you train to be a health coach? Why did you think that was important? And how are you incorporating that?
Sure. So, so after just observing my customers get diagnosed with their chronic conditions, and one that sparked my interest more was my diabetic patient and being on so many medications and claiming how they just really do not want to take the medicine. Um, I just started doing research because I felt like there is something more. I mean, especially having practiced for that amount of time, for 14 years, I started thinking there's got to be something more. How else can you come through for these patients? Because they're only taking medication and it's just a pill burden at this point, and there's nothing more they're doing or nothing else that they know to do, because some of the calls I would receive were people asking, what am I going to eat because I've already taken my medicine when my blood sugar is so high, or or can you recommend a vitamin I can take? And I wasn't trained to recommend a vitamin to take for diabetes. I mean, if you're diagnosed, you're better off taking the medicine, and then we can work other ways to help you. And we can do other research, but we don't just recommend over-the-counter herbal products for your diabetes right off the bat. And so I ran into health coaching. Actually, first I ran into functional medicine, which, it's the study of root cause of the condition, of learning about the root cause of a condition. And I thought, yeah, this is exactly what I would like to know. I'd like to counsel my clients or teach them of how they got here, because that's not something they're taught or told. And there's so many ways that they got to where they have this chronic illness. It didn't just happen. It's not that they didn't eat well and it happened. Something else went on in their body to cause that to happen. And then I enrolled in functional medicine training. So I'm doing that one, and it's really exciting. I'm learning a lot of things that I didn't learn in pharmacy school. And then health coaching was by way of me figuring out how to help with clients have a more lasting change in their health, because when they tell me I can't keep up with, or, I noticed they were taking their medication, but they can't keep up with their lifestyle changes. And this is how I saw myself come in to help cause a lasting behavior change for them. I can provide support and accountability for them to help them reach their goals. So currently, I am creating this practice where I can encourage my clients to be active participants in their own health, and stop being these passive recipients of medicine. And so I provide simple modalities that they can follow, such as, and since I'm dealing with people who are living with diabetes, so going back to what are they doing at home, take inventory of what you're doing. Are you, where does what does your nutrition look like? You know, where does the extra carbohydrates come from? Where does your or do you move, you know, exercising because it's important? Maybe that's not something they're doing. How is your sleep? What does your environment look like? That's what I go through with them to see what else is going on, because you see a lot of people live in the autopilot world. You know, you're mostly, you already are maybe stressed from work, and on top of that, here you are having this diagnosis, and you have to encompass all of this and make it work. So diabetes is like another thing you have to take care of in your life. So, you know, we take inventory and see how we can come in and help them, and help them what to, you know, be able to take care of their diabetes and still live their lifestyle. Now, in terms of functional medicine, I think that's going to help with, if I'm able to tell, like, get labs, and I'm able to tell somebody, okay, this is how your body's breaking down whatever you're ingesting, and you know, maybe this is where the challenge is you're not processing something this particular way. I think they'll want to listen and try again. So, you know, you're telling them, maybe if maybe there is whatever, you know, because in functional medicine we take labs. Maybe if I maybe my environment has a lot of toxins, and it's maybe plastics or whatever is in my system, and maybe if I reduce that part of it, you know, that will actually improve my condition. You know, so it's not about, oh, you need to go and work out, and you need to go and um, uh, eat this and that and get on a restrictive diet. It's also what else is going on that's causing you to get here. And I feel like this will encourage somebody to get more into their health and follow through, versus just telling them to change their lifestyle. You know, it will be something more specific.
Yeah. So which programs did you use for the functional medicine and the health coaching trainings?
I did use, I'm training with Functional Medicine University, and it's online, so it's convenient to do it as, you know, as much as you can. A lot of my training is, I listen to the videos on while I drive, and then, you know, and then I go and look through the slides, of course, because I want to see, they have very, very interesting information, you know, all the body, how the body breaks down, whatever you're taking in, and how that translates to what you're lacking or what somebody needs to take. It actually makes you wonder, or or at least know that not everybody needs a multivitamin.
Mm-hmm.
There is a reason. There's going to be a reason why somebody needs a multivitamin or needs whichever vitamin. So it's not like a universal thing. You actually just need the one thing that your body needs, and you can find out what it is. It tells you how your body, you know, the symptoms you're having, why you're having them, because you see, oh, this is why my body's producing this, and this is probably why I'm having this symptom. And as a pharmacist, it's kind of a way to help you connect the dots, because we like connecting dots, of course. We like doing the research. I love going through a patient's chart, so I also love going through a patient's labs to see, why are they struggling with this issue? Why are they presenting with this symptom or side effect today?
Yeah.
And then for health coaching, I trained at the Health Coach Institute. It's a 6-month program. And they have a lot of protocols with helping people with diabetes and heart disease and weight loss. But I enjoyed the diabetes one. It was such an eye opener. You know, you can teach clients how to take a inventory of what's going on in their life to actually help them improve their condition, and soon enough you'll find that they'll probably reduce their pill burden.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole pill burden, I think people are resistant to it because they know on some level that it's not good to like take these synthetic things with the additives as well, because it's a burden on your kidneys and your liver to detox and process all of these things. And also it's like a reinforcement of the fact that there is something wrong with them. So like taking the pill is just a reminder that they're like fixing something that's not right.
Mhm.
And they want to feel healthy without the pill.
Yes, and I think mostly that's people who would work with me are there. They're at the point where they don't want to take the pill, and they've got hope that there is something else they can do, and so they are ready to do that kind of work. You know, I remember recently going to a GI specialist because I struggle with acid reflux, and the having struggled with that for a long time. It started when I was pregnant, and that was 13 years ago, and it just didn't go away.
Wow.
So I walked in and I just told him that I need to get off the reflux medication. I need to find what is going on with me. I don't understand. And he explained to me that, the medications for reflux have gotten a bad rap, but they're necessary, and that it's something that I would need to take, long term if they don't find anything after performing an endoscopy. So to me, it's like that's what the patients are told. Basically, beyond, they're not given or told any other alternatives beyond, this is what we found out and this is the treatment. So um, very few people end up going to look outside of what the doctor said. And so here I'm telling them, okay, just what if you looked beyond that? What if you found out that there's actually a reason something is happening? So as my doctor told me that I would be taking the medication long term if they didn't find anything else that was wrong with me. We were like on two different pages, and I was thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna find out what's wrong with me if you don't. And so that's where I see my clients, and I would like to come in and help with.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like people, like you said, trust the medical professional opinion and they don't even think about getting a second opinion or seeing another doctor or maybe some alternative healers or modalities. I even, speaking about stomach acid and reflux, chiropractors actually offer a lot of like, you know, actual physical guidance and support, and like take a look at what is going on with your organs. Sometimes you can have a hiatal hernia or something that's like not diagnosed by an endoscopy, but you can actually palpate that and help with the alignment of where things are supposed to be. So, like the physical work, the physical body, we can find clues there. The biology of our body, we can find clues there. A person's like mood and stress and like outlook on life can, and their spirit, mind body medicine, connection to like source and meaning of life, that could have a whole other set of implications as well. So it's like a, approaching a person as like this holistic um, person and looking in for the root causes and how to best support that individual person is not done commonly in today's medicine. It's mostly just like that protocol that you were mentioning, like you have these numbers and these levels, you do these medications at these doses, then you add on if it's not enough. So like we follow these very strict protocols rather than like asking more questions.
Totally. And I've noticed, I've actually noticed that I personally use more holistic medicine before pharmaceutical, because I have seen a chiropractor for my reflux actually, and and that was actually sparked by, not because I knew that that's where I need to start from. It's just that I I went there for, like I was a little bit stressed, and they, aligned my neck or something, and it was like, oh, the stress is gone. And it felt like they just can do something before I can start taking medication. I do remember a chiropractor who helped my daughter who was suffering from chronic sinus congestion and chronic ear infections, and she was less than a year old, and the doctor, and she had suffered from enough ear infections that the specialist was saying, oh, we're gonna put in tubes.
Mm.
And here I am, I'd never had any surgery on a child, and I'm thinking, I don't know that I want to go that route. And I actually went to a chiropractor who aligned her back, and she doesn't really have the congestion. We haven't used antibiotics in a year for ear infection. I mean, they were gone. The congestion is gone. We went through several, a monthly alignment for like 3 or 4 alignments, and I was surprised, pleasantly surprised. And I'm thinking, yeah, I do suggest that for my clients as well. Just trying something else when they're at this point where they have taken medication, they don't want to take it, and they say they don't want to take it, which at this point I do believe them, because it's just that they have not been given other options, or the doctors don't really know the other options, because they're also trained to just follow the guidelines and protocols, and that way they lessen their chances of being sued, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I love the patient advocacy piece where we educate on these other things. It's not like we're taking away from the efficacy or the need for some of these acute things that some people may need to turn to, but there's so much more out there that can be done preventatively or first line rather than
Yes.
skipping over these like modifications straight into pharmaceuticals.
Or I think the reason the patients are trapped in there, as I said earlier, is they are they do go to the doctor because now they have this symptom, but they don't go back to, okay, what else could I have done before that? Because now I've treated that acute part of the condition, and just going back to say, okay, now what do I do? What else is there that I can do? And I guess us living in the autopilot world, nobody makes time to do that. And that's kind of where I'm encouraging my clients to go.
Yeah, I think something you mentioned earlier too about the fact that you moved here and everything in the pharmacy world is different because, and even in the way we eat, it's all based on convenience and like saving time and going to drive-throughs or buying the processed stuff at the grocery store instead of like having a fresh local market. Just the way things are done is like purely for convenience, but the risks and implications are hidden in these conveniences, and the
Yes.
fact that yeah, you're gaining convenience and saving time, but you're also losing something. You're losing like that vitality and health of the food that's like grown freshly and locally, and that would take time for yourself to go and like harvest and prepare in your own kitchen with love, like all those
Mm-hmm,
things.
mm-hmm.
You It's a trade-off. You We get here because of this fast-paced gratification life, and
Yes.
it takes time and work to get out of that also.
Oh my, it's going to take a lot. But yeah, I think if somebody's aware of what they want to do, they will definitely get there. You just have to get people to to spark their knowledge that there is this option out there, and most of them will follow through, I think.
Yeah, I think like asking more questions as a patient is, is going to service them, and also asking more questions as a practitioner, as to what aligns with the patient's like belief systems. What are they
Mm-hmm.
willing to do? Instead of jumping to the conclusion that a pill or like a surgery is the way to go, adjusting to what the patient's preferences are in the way they want to be treated and in the way they want to modify their lifestyle.
Oh yeah, very important. Yep.
Yeah. So, how does your practice look like now? Are you opening up like an independent practice, or are you incorporating this into your community pharmacy role?
So I'm still practicing in the community pharmacy, and my practice is virtual right now. I'm just doing this in addition to my regular practicing in the community. And but my goal is to work with a practitioner and get into a collaborative practice
Mhm.
agreement where I'm able to order labs, because there's some restrictions when you practice as in functional medicine and the things you can do. So if I get a practitioner who work with me and will be able to order labs, I can help. I can help my clients in that way, and that's what I'm working towards right now as well. I also I'm trying to work with chiropractors and all the other natural or alternative medicine practitioners to help manage their clients. And besides that, I'm just building it up because I just started this year, and just getting word out through several talks and webinars, and just through workshops.
Awesome, awesome. All right. Well, if you have just a few more minutes, I have some rapid fire questions for us.
Okay.
All right. So, what's your number one advice for people to improve their quality of life right now?
Take 10 minutes off to yourself every day. As a mom, it's the difficult thing for me to do. So whenever I have that time where you're not scrolling, you have 10 minutes to just take inventory of your day, how it's going and what's going on. I think just taking time to yourself and see how you can change whatever is going through the day, that will get you a little bit will get you to a different mood, a better mood. So yeah.
Yeah, that's so relevant. And I think that's also very much like frowned upon in our society that, you're being lazy, you're not productive, like you're taking a break, you can't relax. Like that's the general attitude. Like I feel guilty when I, take some time to myself. And then, you just wonder why that is because like it's okay. We're allowed to take a break. We need to rest, like we need
Yep.
to sleep. We need to have time to ourselves. And you shouldn't feel guilty about that. Like it's a
Yep.
necessary thing. And only after resting and recovering can you like go on and face other challenges. You can't just always be on, drive mode.
Completely. Because even when I practice, uh, sometimes just taking a break. I've run into people who say, "Oh, I don't usually take a break because that makes me lag behind in my work." And I do appreciate taking a break. It's very necessary.
Yeah, you get like a second win of energy rather than, you know, like droning on like super long and slow because
Oh yeah.
it just doesn't work.
Hmm.
All right. Number two, what is your favorite hobby or pastime?
Definitely Sudoku. I would sit there and play, and I'll feel so fulfilled.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. And what is your favorite beverage?
Tea. We drink that as a pastime, and I'm so used to it. I haven't. It's a habit I haven't let go. It's black tea actually. It's got a lot of caffeine, but we drink it with we add some milk in it, so real milk, not creamers. But we drink it breakfast, after lunch, after dinner, just sitting around. It's the thing we drink.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I mean, that's very prominent in my culture too. It's like after every meal, you have some tea, usually
Mm-hmm.
also some sweets. Maybe that's why some people like that because they get the sweet part with the tea. But just like the ritual of it is really nice to like.
Yeah, I haven't let that one go.
Well, it also like certain teas like help you digest, and even like the bitter flavor in the tea and the or some people like coffee, the bitter like help you move food down and digest according to Chinese medicine and the taste
Mm,
profile.
maybe that's why we drank it because it's really bitter.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to also offer you the chance to introduce where people can find you and look for you online or on your website or where you host your webinars. Please let us know about that.
I am on Facebook and on LinkedIn, and I also have a website, the wellnesspathfinders.com. Um, my webinars are, I mostly will host them on Zoom, but I will advertise them on those platforms.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'll include all those information and links on the show notes so everybody can go ahead and reach out to Dr. Esther. Thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your journey and your wisdom with us. And I look forward to connecting in the future.
Thank you for inviting me and allowing me to share my story to you and your listeners. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Alrighty. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Raw Fork podcast, and I truly hope that you enjoyed it and learned something from it. If you did enjoy it, please don't hesitate to leave us a 5-star rating and a short, sweet review so that other listeners can find us across podcast platforms. To get in touch with me, you can go to rawfork.com or email me directly at marina@rawfork.com. Thank you, and I hope to see you back here next week.